We are down here in Surprise, Arizona, covering Royal Spring Training for Sports Radio 810 WHB, and we are here with Carter Jensen. Carter, it's now the third year you're down here in Big League Camp. I know it's a lot different, though, this go around. The first couple years, you just get to learn with some of that experience, and now you're going into camp after having some Major League experience. What's this been like for you?
Yeah, it's been great. I think, obviously continuing to work with the pitchers and stuff like that, catching everybody, getting completely comfortable, with the whole staff, relievers included, especially now because, I caught him in the season last year, caught mostly everybody, but kind of creating that relationship now, getting more comfortable to kind of lead into the season. That's the main goal. So it's been really good.
If you could take me back to last year, going into camp, could you have ever dreamed that you would have been in Kansas City by September? I know you're a motivated guy, and that's obviously the goal, but you really moved through the system rather quickly and tore it up wherever you were.
Yeah, I mean, I think always I'm always going to strive for more. So obviously, last spring training was good to get the second year under my belt, and then kind of build off of that. Ended up making my debut, and went really well. But kind of just keeping my focus of where my feet were. That was important for me, and that was what I think drove my success. Because I was fully bought into Double A when I was there, fully bought into Triple A when I was there, and then once I made it up, fully bought in at the big league level. So I think it all kind of stacked, and just kind of being where my feet were was the biggest thing.
How challenging was that for you to go to all these different pitching staffs, learn these guys, know what works for them, and call a game? Because I can't imagine for a guy your age, you're moving through so quickly, and then you get to the big leagues and you're having to learn how to catch variety guys. Was that challenging for you?
Maybe a little bit when I first started, like when I first got into pro ball, but now it's a lot easier now. You kind of figure out tips and tricks to, help make it easier. But I think that the biggest part was, like I said, just creating a relationship with the guy. Talking to him outside of when he's just pitching and outside of just when he's warming up and stuff like that. Talking to him in the clubhouse. One thing I did when I first got called up is I went around to every pitcher and I asked them, what do you like to do against lefties, righties, stuff like that. Just kind of get to know everybody, had it in my notebook. So if I knew that whoever came in, I had my notebook down there. I could flip to the page and it kind of, give me a little overview. So it's kind of tricks like that that help me out a little bit, and it makes it a lot easier.
Usually in some cases I'd say, well, you're catching behind a legend, right? Salvador Perez is the catcher. You're the guy who's backing him up. I don't know. I don't see it that way, though. I see you as a guy that can share that responsibility. And whenever he's catching, you'd be DHing. Now, I know you don't make the calls there, but what has that been like for you of getting to Kansas City? You're catching alongside a guy that you grew up watching in Salvador Perez. Has he been a big part of mentoring you early on in your career?
Yeah, huge part. It even started two spring trainings ago, my first big league camp. He helped me a ton there, and then kind of we built off of that. And then once I got to KC, he was excited to see me, and then he told me, so let's get to work. So that's what we did. He's an amazing mentor. He's Hall of Famer. I don't know if you could have a better guy to work alongside with. So he's amazing. He's helped me a ton, and to be able to learn from somebody like that, it's out of this world.
Talking with Carter Jensen down in Surprise, Arizona for Royal Spring Training. I want to go back to the final series of the year in Sacramento. Now, there's been guys before you that have immense power. Jorge Soler being one of them. We all know about the power that he possesses. Salvador Perez has that power. Even Bobby and Vinny can put one 450 feet from home plate. But it's you at 486 in Sacramento, one of your final at bats of the season. In that moment, did you really know how far it traveled? Did it feel that good off the bat? Because you hit it damn near 500 feet, Carter. So I'd have to think that it felt pretty good.
Yeah, it was amazing. Off the bat I knew it was gone. I got my pitch, got into a good count. But yeah, I knew I hit it good, and I came back in, and I remember Bob had asked me, he said, "Hey, is that all you got?" And I was like, but that might be the farthest one." And then flipped the thing around, told me it was 480, whatever it was, 480 something, and I was like, "Oh my god!" Like, I kind of surprised
Yeah.
myself. But it's all the work that I put in, hitting the weights and continuing to work with Zumi. That's what made it possible.
Now, I'm curious when it comes to guys that have power like you do. We spoke with Mark McGuire earlier in the week about what it takes to be a power hitter and what the goal is each and every at bat. And he even said, I never tried to hit home runs. Now, whether we can believe every single bat, he never tried to hit a home run. He certainly hit a lot of them. When it comes to your approach out there, when you're trying to square a ball up, is there any part of you mentally that goes, I want to get under this one. I want to be able to put a charge into it. Or is it, I want to hit a line drive right through the pitcher's chest?
I'm actually very simple when it comes to playing an approach at the plate. I'm always telling myself just literally just put the bat on it, put the bat on the ball, touch it, hit it hard, and that's my goal. So when I think in that, I think when my mindset's there, better things happen than when I'm like, all right, let me try to put one out because then those come the elevator shaft homers, hitting the ball straight up in the air. So. Yeah, for me, I try to keep it just simple, trust my mechanics, and just try to hit the ball hard. And the way that my swing plays, I'll be able to get the ball in the air.
Last couple questions for you, Carter. Really appreciate your time. You hit 300 in the short time you were in Kansas City, so you probably didn't have many moments where you felt like, man, I'm pretty overwhelmed here. But everybody has that welcome to the big leagues moment of, wow, that ball was faster than I thought it might be, or this guy really fooled me. I know one of your first at bats, if not your first one, was against Kenley Jansen, an all-time great. So was there anything that stuck out to you when you were playing that you thought, okay, I'm really here, and this is going to be tougher than I expected?
Yeah, it's definitely my debut. Bottom of the ninth, coming in a pinch hit against Kenley Jansen at home, especially. As I didn't even step foot on the field yet, and I heard everybody start cheering. So, the nerves start going a little bit. But once I stepped in the box, I was pretty locked in. But that first pitch he threw me, the cutter up and in. I put a good swing on it. It just went up a lot more than I expected it to. So, that was that first pitch I ever saw in the big leagues from Kenley Jansen, who was one of the greatest closers ever. Like, I mean, that was kind of the welcome to the big leagues moment, and ended up at bat not going my way, but I think that built the foundation for myself to take that at bat, learn from it, and then just go out there and trust myself.
I we open it up with this question, but it's a little bit different for you this spring training, where you're going into this camp expecting to be on the big league roster. What have you noticed that's different or different with this team? Because I know you guys are motivated. I know you guys are confident. You got some new coaches on the staff. If there's something that sticks out on day one here for full squad, what would it be?
There's a few things that go into, the energy around the clubhouse is amazing. Everybody's pumped up, excited to be out here, excited for the year. Everybody's hungry, motivated, and that's the kind of game I like to play. I'm not one to be kind of lackadaisical and like go through the motions. Like I want to have the energy, I want to be pumped up, I want to be ready to go, and that's what everybody around the clubhouse is right now. So, it's really good vibes to start out the spring and to carry on into the season. So, I'm excited.
Last one for you here. Obviously, health is going to be the most important thing for everybody out there. You want to get through camp healthy, but if there's something individually, statistically, that you want to leave surprise with, what would it be?
There's a few things. I think really is just the mentality. I want to stay hungry at all times. I never want to get content. I never want to be content with where I'm at with, making it to the big leagues and all that stuff. That's great and all. The success last year, but I want to stay hungry. I want to compete my butt off out here every single day. No matter if I'm, what state I'm in. If I'm playing well, if I'm not playing well, I want to go out there and compete, and I want to carry that mindset over into the season. I want to be playing 110%. Kind of have that, I guess, dog mentality of what everybody says. So that's the most important thing for me. If I can stay in that mentality and, stay level-headed, not get too down, not get too high. That's where I want to be.
All right. Well, Carter, appreciate your time as always, and good luck this spring.
Appreciate it. Thank you.